I've been blogging about thoughtful packing and minimalist travel for nearly 6 years. And on this last trip, I broke all my rules. What up, nomads? So I just got back from a week in LA and I wanted to shoot a packing video, which I am, but here's the thing. I didn't follow most of my rules for packing on this trip. In fact, I went way off into a new territory of packing technique I'm calling dopamine packing. So perhaps you've heard of dopamine dressing, which is a term that was coined to define this new trend of dressing for happiness over conventional style rules. In practice, and if you do a quick Google search, you'll see that this is expressed in bright colors, fun shapes, and whimsical combinations of outfits. So it's kind of a little bit of the opposite of this classic capsule wardrobe, French style, neutral, goes with everything type of dressing, which was definitely a really strong trend for a long time and probably still is. And to be truthful, kind of informed a lot of the techniques that I use for packing. So picking versatile items, choosing things that go with a lot of other things in your packing list so you get as many outfit combinations as possible. So by extension, dopamine packing is kind of the opposite of my packing technique so far. But hear me out, because I think that there's room for both of these techniques of packing, both the capsule wardrobe, neutral way of packing, as well as the dopamine, joy-driven way of packing. And I think this is particularly true in those trips where it's low stakes. You know the destination well, the weather's going to be nice, and there isn't an expectation of a way you should be dressing or a dress code in particular. So let's rewind to my trip to LA. So before taking this trip, I was actually in my home in the States. So I had some of my wardrobe with me already and then some in my home in Canada. So I was already working with a reduced wardrobe to pick from, which is a little bit of a double-edged sword because on one hand, it's a little bit easier to make decisions because you don't have to choose from your entire wardrobe. And on the other side, sometimes you're assembling a packing list and there's just that one item that would be the perfect piece to add to unlock a lot of combinations of outfits, but that item is in the wrong country. I know, first world problems. But this was a situation I was in going into packing for my LA trip. If I think about my usual quadrants for packing decision making, we've got weather, we've got activities, vibe, and trip length. So for this trip, I was traveling for 7 full days. The weather was going to be around 30 degrees every day, which is high 80s. And because it's partially a desert climate in LA, in the evenings, it was going to dip down to kind of the low 20s. But nothing too crazy. So the weather was pretty consistent for the full 7 days. As for activities, I landed on a Friday, and after a 3-hour flight, we rented a car and drove for 3 hours into the mountains to a place called Idlewild, California, where we were attending a wedding. So that first weekend, we had wedding activities like rehearsal dinner and the actual wedding. But after that, we were pretty much left to our own devices. So on Sunday, we drove back down into LA and then we stayed there for 5 days until our flight home on Friday. And for those 5 days, we had no plans, no reservations, except for our accommodations, which were booked through Home Exchange. So we really didn't have an idea of what our activities were going to be. It was just an opportunity to relax, have a vacation, and see what we wanted to do every day. Although the open schedule was totally intentional, it did leave me with kind of a blank slate for packing. Apart from the wedding activities and the things I knew I wanted to wear for those, I really didn't have a sense of what I might need or want for this trip. With so few parameters, I was left with the questions, what do I want to wear? And what would make me feel good on this trip? Then I thought about the items in my wardrobe that really weren't getting enough love, especially on trips and vacations, because I often found them a little impractical for travel or simply not the most sensible or versatile choice. Then I also asked myself the question, what clothes do I have here that really fit the vibe of the destination? Another way of phrasing that would be, what are the cool people in LA wearing these days? And a third question, what items do I own that would live their best lives there? Meaning, where would my outfits get nods of approval versus the side eye? Because one thing that we don't often talk about in the travel and packing community is how you are perceived and received by the people at the destination. How that affects your mood and how good you feel in your clothes when you're traveling definitely has an impact on the overall happiness and joy and enjoyment of the trip. Think about how often people talk about Parisian style and put it on a pedestal. I wonder how many of you have been to Paris and felt the need to dress more chic or to pick things that wouldn't make you stand out as a tourist. Trips that make you Google how to dress like a local in Paris, Milan, or insert other city. And it goes both ways. If you live in New York or London and you're traveling to a small town in the south of the US, you might not pick your most flamboyant, avant-garde items and rather just tone it down a little bit so that you don't stand out quite as much, so you don't risk being treated differently when you're traveling. On the flip side, you might really relish that opportunity to turn heads, and so maybe this is your chance to go in a different direction, which I also admire and totally get. All this to say, the way that the locals dress at your destination, peer perception and peer pressure can definitely be factors in packing. For my trip to LA, all of this freedom was actually more like an invitation to be a bit more bold, and so a lot of my usual packing sensible decisions went out the window. Let's get into the details of my packing list. As I mentioned, I'm already starting out with a smaller selection of my total wardrobe, which is mostly my summer clothes and a couple of year-round items. The first thing I'm packing is my wedding guest outfit. So I'm packing this dress, and I have a whole video on how to pack for a destination wedding as a wedding guest, which involves how to select your main outfit and all the other things around it so you have as many options as possible. I've shortlisted these two summer trousers, and ultimately I am going to go for these silky pink ones instead of the more structured linen pants. I just find them really breezy for the summer and definitely perfect plain pants. This summer, I've been living in this nylon wrap skirt. It's kind of the perfect combination of feminine and sporty, and the nylon makes it super easy to clean. Oh, and it has deep pockets. Next, I am gonna be picking some shorts. I've narrowed it down to these denim shorts and then two pairs of linen black shorts that I'm hesitating between, but I think ultimately I'm gonna go for the less structured of the two and pick these short, breezy ones, which would be ideal also for a trip to the beach. So these are kind of my lounge shorts and beach shorts for the trip. I have these jeans in two colors, white and gray, and I am going for the white just because this is still a summer trip and I know I'll wear the gray ones all winter. But I also have a couple of other cream colored pants, including these vintage inspired Nike Jordan swishy pants that are kind of giving me the street style cool vibe. And so this might be the trip to pack them. So I'll try and style these in a cool way. Next, I want to bring another skirt, and I picked this really nice midi leather skirt up at a thrift store, but it's just too hot and structured for this trip. So instead, I'm going to go for this silk black maxi from Silk Laundry, and it also packs into nothing. At the same thrift store that I found the leather skirt, I found this awesome 70s inspired denim maxi with a high slit, but I'm not fully confident in how to style it, so I won't be packing this one. I've got lots of black dresses. It's kind of a problem, but I don't really feel like either of these, or even the one I'm wearing, is giving me enough versatility for this trip. So I'm probably gonna leave them at home and go for another set of dresses. I have two dresses from the LA-based brand Stowed, and I really love the denim one and probably won't be wearing it much in the fall, so I'm gonna give it one last hurrah And the knit one I can always wear well into the fall and winter. Originally, I was going to pack this terry cloth button-up dress to put over a bathing suit if I was going to the beach, but considering that beach trips won't be a big part of this vacation, like look at how cool that is. Like that's like wearing a towel. It's great for beach time or being on a boat. But ultimately, I think I'll pack this t-shirt version. I also want to pack a fair amount of these quote unquote going out tops. I just have a lot of basic bottoms and I find that these add a lot of visual interest. As far as outerwear goes, because LA can get a little cool in the evening, and when I'm up in the mountains too, I think I'm gonna bring this cardigan just to throw over anything. And I really do love this crop sweatshirt from Eliza Faulkner, so I'll do my best to try and bring this. Part of me really does want to bring my denim jacket, but if I have my cardigan and a sweatshirt, I really don't need it. So I'm probably gonna edit that one out. Because I'm super pale and I need sun protection, I always bring a lightweight linen shirt. I think I'm gonna bring the black one just because I already have that white t-shirt. I'm not gonna bring another white shirt, so black is the way to go. And also I love combining it with the linen shorts as like a two-piece set. That just gives me that option. I always pull out bodysuits, t-shirts, and a variety of colors to lay on my bed as I'm packing to fill any gaps I might have. Now let's move on to footwear. Gosh, I have so many options this summer. I love shoes, so as you can tell, I've got more than one option in each category. Definitely want to bring a pair of comfortable sneakers. I won't really be working out on this trip, let's be real. So these more fashion canvas sneakers are definitely an option. But if I think about Dopamine dressing, I'm really leaning towards my knit tabbies because they're just so cool. This is from a brand called I Love You So Much, ILYSM, and they just have so much personality. In terms of sandals, could definitely pack a pair of my trusty Birkenstocks, but for my wedding outfit, I am wearing these bejeweled, bedazzled, hardware encrusted slides, so those will be my sandals for the trip. Purses, kind of an afterthought for this trip, I won't lie. Because this is my last summer trip of the season, I think I want to bring my beaded bag and just my trusty big tote bag. So as you saw in my last Pack With Me video, I definitely put everything on my bed and I get to visualize things. I am definitely seeing a color scheme coming together here. I will be eliminating those linen pants and the knit dress, but probably injecting a little bit more cool tones to have more options. As for packing, you know the drill, some packing cubes for my shoes. I'm actually bringing a travel steamer with me. This one is a fantastic one from Steamery, and also putting my dress in a garment bag. So let's take a look at my final packing list. Now you might be thinking, Andrea, you were talking about bright, colorful Dopamine dressing at the beginning, and a lot of this is fairly neutral, and I kind of agree. But if you look at some of the individual items, a lot of them are kind of standalone pieces that have a little bit more personality and fun to them than some of the other packing lists I've assembled in the past. So this is my version of Dopamine packing. Now that I've been back from my Los Angeles trip for a week, I can kind of take a step back and evaluate the success of my packing decisions. From the items that I packed, here are the ones that I wore the most, and here are the ones I didn't wear at all. Did I overpack? Absolutely. Did I know this was going to be the case? Yes. This was a pretty, again, low stakes trip for me, so I wanted options. I also didn't know exactly what kind of activities I was going to be doing, so I wanted to cover a couple of different versions of myself or moods, so that if I did want to be a little bit more dark and urban, classic, polished, fun, quirky, eccentric, sporty, like I would have some of those items that I could work with to create those vibes. Even so, I probably still could have removed a couple of items from my suitcase before leaving. At the end of the day, I didn't have any major packing regrets for this trip. Everything fit into my carry-on, I had lots of options for clothing that I love, and I had a great time. All this to say, even if on my channel I have a lot of rules and recommendations and best practices for packing, there are always going to be those trips where you just want to wear that bright colored caftan that doesn't go with anything, and that's okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below and let me know if you've ever packed something impractical, but that you absolutely loved and needed on a trip. See you in the next video. Happy travels. Thanks for watching this video until the end. For more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the Capsule Suitcase and turn on notifications so you get all the fresh content as soon as it comes out. Thanks for supporting this channel. Happy travels!